Welcome to Manga Experts. We are back with another top 10 recommendation list. If you like our videos, please leave a like and a comment of your favorite suggestions below. Without any further ado, let's get started. Number 10. Final Fantasy Lost Stranger. Scoring a job at Square Enix, Sasaki Shogo's dream of producing a Final Fantasy game finally seems within his grasp. But after he starts, he quickly discovers that the work has nothing to do with his favorite franchise at all. Disillusioned, his enthusiasm for Final Fantasy begins waning despite his sister Yuko's attempts to lift his spirits. Their conversation is cut short, though, when a runaway truck suddenly runs over the two of them. When Shogo wakes up, the first thing he sees is a Moogle. Hurled into a Final Fantasy world unbound to any particular installment, how will an Uber fan like Shogo survive? This manga starts off with a tragedy, so beware. The art of this manga is gorgeous and the fight scenes are amazing. There is too much text between panels and most of the times it is just pretty useless stuff that don't even matter. If you are a fan of Final Fantasy, then you are gonna like it. And if you have not played any of Final Fantasy games, then this manga will look like a normal isekai to you. I am also surprised to see that Final Fantasy, being a big franchise, produced this barely above average isekai manga. Number 9. Isekai de cheat skill wo te ni shitaru wa. Tenjo Yuya has been bullied since his childhood. He lives in the home of his beloved grandfather while he goes to school. As usual, he receives a harsh bullying, and he takes an extended absence from school to have some time to heal his wounds. While on this long time of absence, he takes the opportunity to clean his grandfather's house and goes to a room he never went before, where his grandfather keeps many different objects that he gathered from his travels around the world. While he was arranging the objects, he found a door. Out of curiosity, he opens this door. What he found on the other side was another fantasy world. MC gets overpowered early on, but fights with other powerful monsters feel too much bland. All characters are pretty basic and have almost no depth to them. Only read it if you want a wish fulfillment manga with below average plot. Number 8. Hiraheishi wa Kakko yume miru. After a long battle, John Celius, a soldier of the Demon Punitive Force, sees the hero topple the Demon King at last and he's backstabbed by the remnants of the enemy. When John, who should have died in the war, wakes up, he finds that he has become a baby in his hometown. The same hometown that should have been destroyed by the demons. John realizes that he has actually gone back in time and decides to use the fighting prowess and the knowledge he gained in his previous life to change his tragic fate. It's a story of a soldier and his time travel counterattack fantasy. This is a regressor type manga. The art is quite good. The overall story is very good, but the execution is a little bit lackluster. The main character is reincarnated with future knowledge, but he still feels more like a side character. The pacing of the story is a little bit off. This manga is good if you want a slice of life fantasy manga with slow pacing and a little bit of action involved in it. But if you are looking for an overpowered main character, then this is not for you. Number 7. The former top 1 sub-character training diary. The protagonist, who was rarely ever at school during his middle school and high school days, is unemployed even as an adult. He plays video games from morning till night. For him, who was ranked first worldwide, it was his life. One day, his character is suddenly hacked. The data was unrecoverable and there was nothing that could be done. Feeling great despair at having lost his rank that he had bet everything to achieve in a world that controlled his life, the protagonist attempts suicide. When he awakens, he finds himself inside the video game. No, it was real world that resembled it. There he notices that he has reincarnated into the body of a sub-character that he had created and bought premium benefits for long ago, but had left neglected. The overall story of this manga is pretty good. The art is good on the eyes. The world building is also pretty good. The main character personality is not something unique. He is just your ordinary isekai dude. Other than that, it is a solid isekai manga with a little bit of harem and a lot of slice of life elements. Number 6. Previous life was Sword Emperor. This life is Trash Prince. Once upon a time, there was a swordsman who wielded the sword, lived by the sword, and died by the sword. After days and months of battle, the swordsman chose death by his own free will, but was reborn as Fei Hans Diesberg, the third prince of the kingdom of Diesberg. Wanting to distance himself from his past life where he lived as if possessed by the sword, Fei decided to just lead a life of a wastrel, earning the nickname Trash Prince. However, one day, because of a pact with the neighboring kingdom's Aphilis royal house, Fei is sent to war, leading reinforcement troops. On the battlefield, Fei witnesses a scene of despair as the hero, an existence possessing power rivaling tens of thousands, ravaged the battlefield. Faye considered returning to the kingdom, but a certain knight's death manages to shake his heart. Thus, he decided to wield the sword once again. This manga starts off pretty good, but later on a lot of plot holes start occurring. The personality of the main character is very poorly portrayed. He is always confused about everything, and the side characters are too vague. Other than that, the art of this manga is nice on the eyes. The fight scenes are the best, and the overall story is also good. Read this only if you can bear the personality of the main character and a lot of unnecessary text bubbles. Number 5. Tensei Kenja no Isekai Life. Whether at the office or at home, corporate drone Yuji Sano works all the time. So when his home PC flashes a message about him being summoned to another world, Yuji restarts his machine, only to find that he has inadvertently accepted the summons. Now in a fantasy world far removed from paperwork and computers, Yuji has just one thing on his mind: waking up from what he thinks is a dream and getting back to the mountain of work he left behind. But this other world has other plans for Yuji, who quickly discovers his monster tamer character class allows him to befriend slimes. And thanks to their number, those slimes help him absorb so much magical knowledge that he gains a second character class in the blink of an eye. How will Yuji wield his power now that he's the greatest sage the realm has ever known? If you are in overpowered main character stuff, then this manga is definitely for you. The art of this manga is amazing. The magic spells animation is lit. Human characters are not that great, but the tame beasts the main character have make up for that flaw. The personality of the main character is simple, but it still works for this kind of manga. You don't want to miss this manga if you are into taming and overpowered MC stuff. Number 4. Isekai Meikyu no Saishinbu o Mezaso. One moment, Kanami is visiting his sick little sister in the hospital, and the next thing he knows, he wakes up in a dark corridor full of cutthroat warriors and bloodthirsty monsters. Kanami quickly learns that he is in the Labyrinth, a deadly 100-floor dungeon in a fantasy world, and for those able to reach the deepest level, a wish will be granted. Kanami seems to have received magic powers and a special unnamed skill that kicks in whenever he is overwhelmed, which helps him stabilize but has a disturbing effect on his emotions and mind. After attracting the attention of a mysterious girl, Kanami may have the power he needs to return home to his ailing sister. The overall story and art are quite good. The personalities of some characters are top-notch. The only problem I can find with this manga is that the progress in the dungeon is not transitioned smoothly. It is not that much of a big deal, and you will not even notice it if you are not paying much attention to it. Other than that, it is a good isekai manga with a decent main character and a little bit of dark story. Number 3. I was sold at the lowest price in my class. During a school trip, the bus of the second year class 3 with 32 people was summoned to another world. They were gonna be sold to become pilots of robot-like magical weapons, but it looks like the values of the selling prices were decided by the values of some unknown parameter called Ludia. While some classmates got high prices with parameters of 10,000 or 20,000, the main character parameters were actually only 2. Though he had the strongest parameters. Nobody bought him and he was actually exchanged as a slave for 2 dry fruits. This isekai is quite good and this new world is also well made. This world has giant Gundam-like robots instead of fantasy beings. The art is good, there is a lot of action and the story is also decent. Main character has a very simple good guy type personality which can put some readers off. Number 2. It's sudden, but I came to another world. This is the story of a man who wishes to live safely. A man stands alone in a mountain full of plants and creatures that he never knew nor saw before. He goes down the mountain by avoiding encounters with bears, slimes, and bandits, and is hauled into prison the second he reaches a large city. On top of that, a pretty female knight called Ilias manages to break him out and whisks him away to a church, where he is briefed about this world and its structure. This isekai manga has a lot of potential. The story of this isekai is quite unique. The main character is physically weak, but he has a big brain, and it is quite nice to see an MC winning by using his brain instead of just overpowered cheats from the start. Side characters are also quite good. Some female characters are a little bit dumb. The art is also quite nice. Overall, it's a good isekai manga with a unique plot and a very likable main character. Number 1. Little Girl X Scoop X Evil Eye. Tsugoto Sumihara is way too nice, or rather, was too nice. He lost his life in a bus accident after being bullied into giving up his seat, and somehow was reincarnated into a mining camp. Not only that, the mine is at the base of an impossibly tall tower. It's there he meets the ram-horned Ruri, his first friend in this bizarre land. But when she's bullied, Tsukuto finds that maybe he wasn't reincarnated without powers after all. If he wants to have a future in this strange new land, Ruri's just the partner he needs. In short, this is the story of a disgruntled 200 IQ main character who goes dungeon crawling with a goat girl who whacks enemies with a shovel. This isekai is quite enjoyable. The art is good. The story is also unique in a way. All characters are well fleshed out. The overall world building is also great. The female lead is too much cute for this comic. Do you agree with our picks? Check out our other videos for more suggestions and don't forget to give us a like before going. Until then, take care and we will see you in our next video.